What have I done? Ladies and gentle dudes, as some of you may already know, we've set up a Discord server. As a host that cares for the community I'm trying to establish, I told the good people of Discord to post any questions they have about the hobby in general, painting techniques, conversion tips and tricks, and other things like that. At first, I was super excited when I saw a notification come across my screen that said, "Hey, what are all of y'all's thoughts on ... So I unlocked my phone, hopped into chat, and was mortified by the question I saw. The question wasn't bad, it just happened to be the one question that I feel is probably the most divisive in the hobby today. It's the one that really gets people's blood boiling. You curious? The question I saw was, what are all y'all's thoughts on painting recasted models? Well, since I'm not someone who normally avoids something just because it's difficult, I hopped into chat. Now, I strongly recommend being awake for more than 2 minutes and also being pretty heavily caffeinated before you hop into the chat ring. First off, I'd like to thank Crimson Path Studios for posing the question. Now, my intent is to have these videos be at least 10 questions or so, but I thought this one was so huge, so girthy, if you will, that it deserved its own video. Allow me to preface the body of the video with the following. This is my personal opinion, and what I'm saying is a reflection of any decisions I, as a hobby lover and as a hobby-centric business owner, am willing to make. I cast no judgment on others that don't share my opinions, nor do I feel I am superior in any way over someone that isn't constricted by the same moral dilemma I find myself in on this subject. Whew. This is a touchy subject, so I thought the best thing to do was put on my thinking pants and get to work. I said, my thinking is, if you're commissioning me to paint a gaming army for you, I want it to be as awesome and amazing as it can be. I want to see pictures of my work on the gaming table. If there are models in that army that would not be allowed on the gaming table due to them being recasts, therefore violating game rules, then I've been complicit in violating those game rules. Now, this was met with mostly agreement. Someone did ask a question just for argument's sake, and it was, what if the mini was painted so well one couldn't tell it was a recast and it got snuck into the gaming tournament? This is where my personal moral dilemma comes in. I said, as the commissioned painter, I'll know I was painting something that was illegal for the tabletop. If it's not allowed on the game table, it's not allowed on my paint table. For gaming armies, obviously. I'll paint things like busts or display items and things like that, but if you're going to be taking it to a tournament or playing games, and there are rules that state it cannot be a recast, I will not paint a recast. I tried breaking it down a different way. I said, I think most people looking to buy recasts are impatient and looking for ways to scoot around paying full price. But as I have painting and pricing standards that are set in order to pay me what I feel my services are worth, so too should the people that make the goods be compensated. I wouldn't want someone to get a quote from me, say it's too much money, then have someone else paint it, but then go around and say it was one of my paint jobs. Now, for me, it's not a huge issue because I'm such a tiny one dude that paints things, but Siege Studios or Den of Imagination or some of these bigger places, they have a lot more weight and value to their name, and so if someone were to claim that this was painted by them, it could actually be pretty damaging to their name. There's so much wrapped up in the idea of value. And in the world we live in today, it's okay to expect to be financially compensated for high quality. Sure, we may not be able to afford the commission painter we want. So now we're faced with a choice. Either choose someone else or save up until you can. And in my mind, that's what makes it worth it. You had to save, you had to wait, you had to think about it day and night. You had to make choices that altered your cash flow, altered your savings, until one day you could afford it. But once that box shows up in the mail, and as you're opening the lid, the light is shining through, and the angels are harmonizing above you, that's when it's worth it. Someone then asked if I felt my opinion held for out of production models or really, really expensive ones. I said it's the same exact idea for recasting. Even if it's out of production or it's super expensive, if it can still be purchased, it should not be recasted. And the main reason for this is it reduces the value of the legitimate models in the market. And as someone that just wants to have that model and doesn't care about that, that's your own personal opinion. But to me, knowing what it costs and knowing how rare these things are, it would mean that much just to have it. An example is I have been waiting for the right time to justify spending over $100 on one single Lieutenant model. I've had my eyes on the 500th store opening Lieutenant with a stalker bolt rifle holding his helmet. That is probably one of the coolest poses, and I love it. But since I obviously didn't get it when it was around, I now have to wait until I get a good deal on it, or I can just spend the $100 to $125 on it. But when the time comes and I do buy it, it'll be worth it because it's a legit one. Now, on the same subject, someone mentioned they love using a 3D printer for bits and bobs or anything like that. I agree with this use of 3D printer because if you're using it to accessorize or slightly alter a kit you've already paid for, then the creator of that kit has been paid for and now you're just making it your own. There is a bit of a caveat though, in my opinion. There are tons of resources out there to source genuine GW parts, or I'm mainly talking about GW because that's the majority of my work. And that's where a lot of the recasts come in because GW is very expensive. Anyway, there are tons of places you can get these parts, like eBay, Trollhorde, Bitsbox, and they're generally pretty inexpensive. Again, my personal opinion, if the part doesn't exist in the official GW catalog or library or whatever, gear list, then head to your third-party stores or print the STLs. If it doesn't exist, you have to make it exist. Now, I'd like to share my one and only experience with recasting. When I first got in the hobby, I knew nothing about recasting or anything like that. And I was looking for a Logan Grimnar and an RJack. I found one of each from a really, really cool Russian company. They used the official GW artwork, but they were $15 cheaper each model. So I thought it was awesome. So I bought them and I had them sent to my house, and 2 months later they showed up. As soon as I opened the box, I knew I'd been scammed because the quality was garbage. It wasn't the same material and I could just tell. So I immediately went to the website to go complain, and surprise, surprise, they weren't there anymore. And so I put them back in the box and went to work. That same day, Scott and John from Trapped Under Plastic released a video about recasts, and it really set in stone my opinion because I had just done that. Now, I felt honestly like I was a victim because I did not know anything about recasts, but I immediately felt bad because I wanted to save money and didn't go through the official route. So I came home and I gave them to my 4-year-old son, who within the hour broke them. I told him that super glue doesn't work on that kind of plastic, and we just threw them away. So for 45 minutes or so, my son really, really enjoyed a couple of recasts. So to state clearly and avoid any gray areas, my personal and professional opinion is I'm going to stay as far away from recasts as possible. I'd rather convert or sculpt something to pay respect to the model, understanding there are some things we just can't get anymore. But this way, I can try to bring as much of the essence of the original model into the new one. It'll serve as a very unique counts as. This way, the awe-inspiring value of the original model remains intact, while my cool conversion work gets to add its own unique value. This is a win-win. And they can use unofficial gaming tabletop. Win-win-win. And if they beat their opponent, win-win, win-win. Just keeps going. There we have it. Hopefully I didn't lose too many of you. We did it. See you next time. Papa out.